Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today we are with Paul Elliott of Insurance Office of America. And Ted, this topic has got a lot of conversation in the industry, but one that is increasingly more important for dealers to be paying attention to.
You're so right. We're ready for a risk and compliance overview. Some of the highlights today with Paul Elliott. Paul, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
So glad to be here, Ted. You guys are the best in the business, and I always enjoy our conversations and always enjoy helping dealers.
You're very kind, and we appreciate you and humbled to have you, grateful to have you, and Insurance Office of America. I think this is a conversation that needs to be had, and what a great place to do it here on the roundtable. And you and I and Sarah were chatting a little bit in the green room about some of the things we'll be discussing today. But really from a dealer's point of view, compliance, OSHA, things like mobile service that are now mainstream. A lot of dealers are doing that, and I think this is a good, eye-opening way to start the new year. So, Paul, bring us up to speed and tell us a little bit about some of the things we'll be talking about here.
Yeah, so today, just in thinking about, we always try and put ourselves in the dealer's seat and think from their perspective. And that's sometimes that's hard to do, but that's what we try to do. And compliance is a 24-hour, 7-day a week job in my opinion. And I say that because in many ways, that's how we protect our employees. That's how we protect our customers. And really, that's what we're in the business of doing. We want to make sure we take care of our employees, but our customers are our they're our lifeline. They're our revenue source. And anytime we're not compliant or we make mistakes for lack of compliance, we're giving away profit. And we're here to try and help a dealer keep all of the profit that he can.
And a lot of times, these are things that could be um, negated early if they're addressed early. So, Sarah and I want to talk to you about some of those things and just some interesting conversation starters. So, here we are in fixed operations. Right now, a lot of dealers are focusing on service and parts and a lot of the opportunities there, but they need to be aware of some things that um, can be addressed. And, Sarah, we've had some good conversations about that as well.
Yes, we have, Ted. And Paul, I understand that you're going to be sharing some really interesting data with us about some of the things that you're seeing, as far as like the top five OSHA violations that you're seeing in franchise dealerships. But I'd love to get your perspective. So, set the stage for us. Where are we in 2026, and what are the things that dealers need to be paying attention to?
So it's always interesting. Um, Again, I go back to it. Compliance never sleeps. So
Mhm.
compliance is a habit. So it's either a good habit or a bad habit.
Mm.
And I think what we need to my message would be to any dealership is this has to be a good habit. This has to be something that you invest in, uh, you talk about, you make sure that there's some accountability with your staff and your team, because at the end of the day, if not, it's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you money. And
And
you know, like you said earlier, we've got the top 5 compliance violations for franchised auto dealers here on the screen, and there's probably not anything that just jumps out to a dealer to say, wow, that's surprising. But again, if there's not a focus on being compliant, it is going to cost you. And there are so many resources available to dealers from IOA, in our dealer practice group, from our carrier partners, from centers of influence or third party vendors we use. I mean, there's a ton of resources available to the dealer to assist with compliance. And I would just encourage any dealer to reach out to their broker, to their centers of influence, to vendors, uh, to make this a point of priority. Now, I think I need to try and answer your question. I think one of the things that we see most often would be, the warranty fraud or improper warranty claim submissions. We do see that quite a bit, and fraud is a bad term in the insurance industry because insurance policies typically do not cover fraud. I
Right.
mean, it's excluded.
Right.
And so, there are some things we can provide to a dealer to help in that defense. Um, and maybe that's a topic for another day. But I would say to you, the warranty fraud and the improper warranty claim submissions would be what I know it's not listed first, but that's what I would say is the most common, the one I see the most. And then second would be the environmental piece.
Yes. And warranty is really at the top of the order right now, Paul, because there's so much technology in these vehicles, and warranty is a huge chunk of revenue for the dealer that they have to claim, and they've got to be compliant. And that's a huge part of the warranty process. And a lot of dealers in recent years have applied for warranty increases if their state allows that. It's different state by state, but that's increased their warranty on labor and on parts. And of course, there's been some inflation, to say the least, the last couple of years. Technicians are now making more money, so there's a lot of money at stake with this warranty, Paul.
And warranties now, as you mentioned, Ted, I'm in the process of buying a vehicle as we speak, and the technology on cars now. Any person who doesn't buy a warranty or an extended service contract,
Yeah,
I just that's a poor business decision for the buyer. Some people may say that the dealer, is trying to they're just trying to make money. Well, I think in today's world, that's a fantastic strategy for a dealer from a risk management standpoint. You know, hey, Mr. Buyer, we're trying to protect you, but all this computer technology, the cameras, it's just there's so much going into a vehicle now, and in the future, I think we're even going to see more technology driven um, by Wi-Fi, or I'm not sure Wi-Fi is the right, but it's going to just be downloaded automatically
sure.
into the system, just like my phone. I'll get an update on my phone that it's updating my phone, and then my phone looks different overnight because it's
Mhm.
updated the phone. And I think we're going to see some of the same things with vehicles, and that could actually cause problems for
Yes,
people.
yes.
It's yet to be seen, but those are things that we should all be thinking about going forward. And to your point, yeah, I mean, the warranties are super important for the buyer and for the dealer.
I had an attorney on. I'm sorry, Sarah, recently that mentioned to me that uh, a manufacturer was doing an update, okay, on the vehicles, and they set it, Sarah, for 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning on that local time zone. But he was handling a case where a customer had to go to the hospital at that hour, right? And the software was being updated, okay. And anyway, I won't go through the whole story, but these things happen, right?
Yeah.
And it's a whole new world that we're in, Sarah.
It is, Ted, and Paul, I wanna come back for a second, to just expand on the warranty claim submission piece of it because, a lot of our dealers that are listening, we have quite the audience. We have a lot of fixed ops directors, but we also have general managers and partners that are listening as well, and, we live in a very litigious society. That's the
Mm,
reality of where we are today, and, you know, I think maybe there isn't an awareness, a dealer, as they're going through this, may not realize the implications that this could have on their franchise or their brand or their what's going on with their customers. So I'd love to get your perspective, with IOA. What are the pieces, as you're helping a dealer navigate this conversation, what are the typical kinds of things that you see when it comes to warranty claim submission not being done correctly? Is it things like single use parts? Is it improper documentation, on the repair orders? Like, how does this typically kind of get started?
So there's a couple that I think that we've seen the most in the past. No, I think probably one of the first ones is we see where warranties have been filed improperly, and when I say maybe they've there's a there's a from the buyer standpoint, they believe they've been overbilled, or the OEM or the warrant, feels like they've been overbilled. And so there's a lot of back and forth on the charges associated with the warranty claim and how the labor's paid or how the parts are paid. And so what happens with that is if if you have enough claims, or if you have enough exposure there, what happens is it turns into class action, or it could turn
Mm.
into class action, and that's where it becomes the big exposure. Okay, and in our litigious society, as you mentioned, that we live in, I'm not sure if you're familiar with private litigation funding, but in today's world, you have private equity funding litigation
Oh,
Really?
for
didn't know
for a
that.
return on the litigation. So private equity has turned litigation into a profit center for them, and a lot of people don't understand.
Wow.
But it's rampant. I mean, it is a big business, and when a law firm has an open bank account to go after, whether it's legitimate or not,
Sure.
when they've got the money to come after you, then it's that they're not investing because they don't think there's an opportunity to make money. They're investing in that case to get a return.
Mm.
And that is something that is happening not only in this space, but across the entire industry, right? And at the end of the day, that increases cost for everyone, not just
Sure.
not just the defendant. I mean, when those claims types of claims are settled, it's kind of like you've heard the the phrase, a rising tide increases, all boats. Well, you know, these type these type of lawsuits increase rates for all of us, not
Mhm.
just some of us, but all of us.
I had no idea, Paul, what you just said, and that makes perfect sense. And there's probably a pretty good ROI for the private equity on those ventures. So very,
Mhm.
very interesting and eye-opening. So see, Paul, that's why this is a big topic here, right, at Fixed Ops Roundtable, and you're bringing this to light. So thank you for doing that.
I would encourage people, if you've never heard of private litigation funding, you should probably Google it, Chat
Google.
GPT it, Copilot it, whatever you're using these days. And it's a fascinating topic, and frankly, it's something we need to all go to our um, congressional leaders and have some conversation about.
Yeah, that's good advice. That's great advice.
Mhm.
All right. So you've got the top five compliance violations, starting off with the repair order, which is a legal document, and then, as you mentioned, that warranty, uh, probably being on the higher end of the spectrum, I can imagine, and the environmental and hazardous waste handling violations. Just so many things to be concerned about, and now that the multi-point inspection I see you've got on there has become a mainstream event every time a vehicle comes in the shop. And we've got technicians now, Paul, doing videos, talking directly to the customer. It's a whole new world, right? And, while these are great things for the industry, there is a tendency that, some of that work might be over recommended, as I see there.
And the other thing I would add is there's got to be fantastic, great documentation always. There's got to be documentation, and some people would tell you, well, documentation can hurt you. Yeah, I mean, it can, but if you're doing it the right way, it will never hurt you. It will never hurt you. It allows you to adjust to if you see something, then you can fix it. You can fix it. It doesn't get worse. I just documentation, very, very important.
Can I move on to the next
Yes,
slide
sir.
here? Yeah, documentation. Yep, here we go. Top five OSHA violations, franchised auto dealers. Look at this.
Paul, I think, this slide, and as we were talking in the green room, I know this stood out to me directly because, as we're having this conversation again for our dealers that are listening, we think about all these pieces in our service departments, and we think about it in the lane, and we think about it back in the shop. But there's a lot of this that transcends those departments, and our sales departments, some of the F&I offices, different places in the dealership that maybe aren't as top of mind when we think about exposure or potential risks. So I'd love to get your perspective, as with these top 5 OSHA violations specifically, when you're helping, dealers navigate this, what kinds of pieces does IOA, look at with this?
So there's a couple. Obviously, hazard communication. To
Yeah.
me, if anyone's familiar with safety data sheets, we have the safety data sheets that we can provide to dealers, and that's maybe a conversation really for a deeper for another day. What I'd like to really focus on is PPE noncompliance, and that the first one.
No.
That's PPE is personal protection equipment. So we're talking about earplugs, safety glasses. If you're if you have a body shop and maybe you have or maybe you have a rollback, you've got the neon vest that are to be worn when they're out of the unit. So any type of personal protection equipment, number one, it protects your employees.
Mhm.
Okay, nobody wants to send. I've said it before. This kind of relates to maybe workers' compensation, but nobody wants one of your employees to lose an eye because they didn't have goggles, because they didn't have um,
Right.
glasses on. Like that's something we all control, and we have to create the culture that we're doing this to protect you, not to punish you. This is to protect you. This is not Big Brother. This is just one of those things where we're just trying to help you stay safe so you can go home to your family and you can continue to provide for your family. And at the end of the day, your employees are your family. They're your business family. These guys are turning the wrenches to make money for themselves and for the dealership. So, personal protection equipment is one, and I think we talked about in the green room. It's important to have buy-in from your team. So we had a dealer who knew he had a problem. We talked about it. He was all in to, hey, we put a plan together to fix it. We brought in a carrier partner to go out and do an inspection and kind of, get some data so we could go back and then put a plan together and implement safety. And we were met by the service manager, and we put on our safety glasses, and we put on the earplugs, and he goes, don't worry about it. You don't need that. Well, that that's the problem. So we never even made it
Yeah.
into the service department. We turned around and went back to the dealer and said, "Hey, there's more to this. We've got to do a little bit more work internally here to get to the next step." So that's kind of an unusual case, but I think that's a good example for this discussion. And
Yes.
then now, yeah, we're going to be just past the Christmas holidays, you know, and electrical safety. I mean, when I saw that pop up, I think we mentioned it, and maybe, but first thing I thought of is Chevy Chase and Christmas Vacation and all those utility cords going everywhere. But we all know or have seen utility cords stretching across a service department or maybe an area where a service technician is working, and it just creates the next topic, which is slip, trip, and fall exposure for your employee and then for a customer because the customer's not familiar with the area. Like maybe that technician is, and so it's almost a habit where they avoid a trip over a cord. But we're just increasing exposure if we're bringing customers into the service area by having anything laying on the ground or anything that would create a slip, trip, or fall. The other thing I would say is if you've got areas where maybe you have a slight ramp of some sort, I would encourage you to have some type of non-slip tape or surface there because I live in the South. It's humid. The doors are open in the summer, and you're going to get condensation
Mhm.
almost always
Yes,
in,
yes.
in these departments, and it creates it turns slippery. And I can't tell you how many times we've had repetitive slips in service departments in the exact same area, and it shouldn't take five, six, seven slips, trips, or falls for us to take action. And
Yeah,
it's very easy to prevent it. So
prevent it.
probably enough on that. But yeah, these are things that again are controllable. IOA has the resources, whether we're your broker or not. We can help you. I would encourage people. Our contact information is here on the screen. Happy to serve people and help them and tell them how we might solve some of their uh, issues or provide solutions for their problems.
Paul Elliott is a great resource, a great sounding board, if you will, as well, and he knows the retail automotive industry. Paul, I want to ask you, and Sarah wants to ask you about one more thing that's been really top of mind,
Mhm.
especially the last couple of years, and now it seems in the
In the
last
last
year it's
year, it's
coming into
coming in.
a whole new area. The mobile service growth in our industry, dealers starting with one van, then two, and then three, and now we're at a point where dealers see this as a huge growth area, and it is. It's convenient for the customer, and it's ripe for risk. And if you want to address that, there's a number of things you've got on the screen here as well.
So, so there's one thing, and um, this is not as easy to do. But if you have a mobile service department, um, the first thing I would encourage you to do is, have a designated route every day. Like you have to take the time to have a designated route. It can't be, you know, just go from here to there. It needs to be planned. That's the point. It needs to be planned. And when you're planning that, this is even harder to do. But I would encourage you to have all right hand turns if possible. It is. I can give you data on the increased exposure to accidents for left hand turns, and I mean, if you've never studied it, would blow you away. But it's greater than 60%.
Wow.
In some cases, it's 90%. It increases the risk of accidents, and so when that happens, there's a couple things that we should think about. Number one, again, mobile service is for the dealership to drive revenue. That's what it's there for. If we have a unit go down, we lose the ability for that unit to earn revenue. It has to be replaced. And then
Yes.
that's not to mention we pulled out in front of someone and caused damage to their vehicle. And then there's a liability exposure to that. And
Sure.
then we got to check the MVR. And if they've got prior accidents, then the cost of the claim goes up. And I can go on and on about, the exposure. The point is, I think this is going to continue to be
Yeah.
a growth area for dealers
It
because
is.
as a customer myself, it's convenient. I work, I travel. It's super convenient for me to dial up a dealer and just have them come take care of my service, and I saved a bunch of time. And I really like it. But there are some things from a dealership standpoint that they need to do to make sure they are compliant and safe. That's one of them. The improper lifting and the improper the jacking conditions. I can tell you right now, to be fair and transparent, I don't have enough data on that particular topic. I haven't really seen any claims from that standpoint yet, so I can't really speak to that. But if it's listed here, it's a problem. Okay, and there's always people smarter than me, so maybe we save that for another day.
And Paul, service managers are telling Sarah and I that the greatest area of growth for their dealerships is outside the dealership walls. That
Mhm.
means going out into the world, real world, and going and performing these services, whether it's in a customer's driveway or whether it's for a fleet of vehicles in the, you know, for example, rentals, okay, that are at the airport, fleets working on them overnight while the vehicles are down. Um, Lots of room for exposure here, and things we need to address.
And I would tell you, we're certainly a resource for any dealer.
Yeah.
We're happy to help in that area. And I can tell you that we're working with several of our carrier partners to put together a program. Um, I shouldn't say program, guidelines centered around mobile service because
That'd be a big hit, Paul. Big
yeah,
Yes.
hit. Very timely. Yeah.
it's going to be. I think I think there's a great future in the industry for mobile service. I really do. I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah.
Well, and
It's
Paul, it sounds like too, I mean, what you're describing with that, a lot of dealers that are listening today, these policies, as vehicles continue to evolve and the technology continues to evolve and where we're doing the work evolves, it sounds like they need to be mindful of what kind of policies they need to carry in order to protect themselves and their employees as they go out into the world. I imagine there's a lot of different intersections that you have to be aware of, or you could be on the hook for that coverage.
100%. From a liability standpoint, now we're leaving our premises. We have to make sure we have completed operations coverage, which dealers do, but it's a different exposure than traditionally. Like we're now, so there's some guy, some. Well, I think Ted, last time you mentioned you know somebody who has 40 mobile units, 40
Mhm.
plus.
I know someone who has
We
40. Yes.
do.
Yeah, so now you've got 40 people away from the premise or 40 units
Or more.
away from the premises, and your liability is at every one of those premises.
Yes. And in
Okay,
some cases, two people on that truck
uh,
Yeah.
right, and they're stopping generally. Surely they're going more than one place a day. I would hope. You
all
know,
day long. They're going.
you
That's
know
right. They
they're
load them up the night before with parts, and off they go in the morning.
Hmm.
And I think I saw recently that one dealer doing repair orders in a day. They broke a record. I think it was either 100 or 200. I mean, big numbers they're doing now. So this is growing and growing. So
and then on the flip side, there's the completed operations piece. But then also the vans themselves, that's some in some states they have to be tagged differently. There's certain things you have to do to make sure they're insured properly, and then the property off premises. You've got your building and your contents, and you've got property there at the dealership, but you've got a lot of property or investment in the van, and you got to make sure that you have the proper coverage for what's inside the van. You saw the bullet point there, theft. Yeah, I mean, hey, look, well, once the thieves figure out there's value in these vans or there's some value there, there's gonna be theft.
that's
You got to make
nuts.
sure you're covered properly for that. For it's called property in transit or property away from premises. Check your policy. Make sure you have enough.
Everyone, if you want to reach out to Paul Elliott, you could see his contact information scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Paul, next week, Sarah and I are going to be at the NADA show in Las Vegas. We'd love to have you join us on the stage there and, you know, talk some more about these things and maybe take some questions as well there and live in person. And I think we're going to have some dealers with us on the stage. And I see a real ripe opportunity, I think, for the industry to talk about these things very candidly. And I think you're the man to lead that conversation, my friend.
Well, I appreciate that, Ted. Again, we're honored to be part of the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Can't wait to see y'all next week at NADA, and let's just make sure we all continue to serve our dealers and the Fixed Ops Roundtable in the best way we can. And I appreciate y'all so much. Y'all taught me so much, and just a great. You're just great for the industry.
Everybody, if you're not going to NADA, whether you are or not, Paul is reachable. You could see at IOA USA. The dealer practice group, his email scrolling at bottom on the screen. You can reach them on the web. He's on social media. As you see, he's become extremely active now. I watch his videos and watch his tips, and again, if you happen to be next week in Las Vegas, come by and see us, and we'll make sure that we do that. But Paul, you're a great ally for the industry. Um, Insurance Office of America, great friend. You know the industry in and out, so appreciate all you do.
Well, hey, thank y'all. And if I can get half as good as you and Sarah on these videos, it's going to be great.
I, I think, Sarah, we got to be on the lookout because I think
Mhm.
Paul's in there. All right. Great way to start the year, everybody. Take a look at your risks and be aware of them, and make sure you're preventative in 2026. Paul Elliott, everybody. He's a risk management specialist with Insurance Office of America, here with us today at the Fix Ups Roundtable.